In the past few months, I've been to several conferences and I've declined a few too. Some were planned and others happened last minute. I went to Cannes Lions, South by Southwest, Adobe Max London and Social Day. All of them were different, some incredible and some not so much. I'm an introvert. Whether or not people believe that, that's on them. These experiences taught me a lot about how I show up, how I connect, and also how I don't. So this episode is split in two parts. First, I'll take you behind the scenes of each of those events. Then I'll share the practical ways I actually network, especially when I'm not in the mood to perform. And spoiler alert, I don't chase clients. I chase good conversations. Because what is life if we don't have good conversation? Let's get into it. Adobe Max London. Let's start with Adobe Max. It was super well branded, incredible speakers, really solid lineup in terms of the talks and the logistics super well. I've been to the one in Adobe Max in LA, was smaller in London, but it was same setup. They're just a little bit smaller scale. Well, significantly smaller scale, but something was missing. In the talks, they used headsets. And I'm going to preface this by saying some of my friends, they spoke really well. The talk itself was really, really good. But the headset experience, it changed everything for me. Have you ever been to a silent disco? When you wear the headphones and there's total silence in the room, except for your own track. That might work for dancing, but it killed the energy of the talks for me as a receiver. That shared experience, I really missed that. The laughter, the eye contact, the spontaneous applause, it vanished. I didn't feel the speaker. I felt like I was listening to them through the podcast that I would normally listen to, or perhaps a webinar, or perhaps Instagram. I already hear them through the headset. I felt that some of the magic was lost. And I get why they did it. Space saving, multiple talks were happening at the same time. But if I ever give a talk like that, honestly, I don't know what I'd do. Part of the thing is all about that exchange of energy. The exchange between the speaker and the audience, I feed off of that. So I think that the talks that I went to were already really good. The fact that they delivered such good talks with that audience participation, wow, kudos to all of those who did that. So if you're listening, know that I appreciate you. Okay, then we had Social Day. Social Day was hosted at Phantom Peak in London. If you've never been before, it's like live action, immersive, I almost want to say theme park, but there are no rides. It made the entire event really feel alive. Actors were walking around, engaging with the crowd. Everyone was involved. It made networking so much easier as well. It was a 3-day event, but I walked away with some of the best connections of the year. Real people, real chats, and actually, some of them have already been on this podcast, Arifili being one of them. I'll link it in the show notes. I expected it to be more social media marketing focused, which it was, but it was from the perspective of people who work in corporates and less so of entrepreneurs, which was interesting because there are other hurdles people in social media marketing are needing to jump over, which was really interesting for me to learn. So I thought that this was brilliant. And no, if you're wondering, I didn't walk away with clients, but that's not the point. Clients are a long game. What I go for is relationships. I have no expectations of anyone ever becoming my client. I did walk away with some potential collaborations, which is brilliant. South by Southwest London. Now this one hurt. I had high hopes for South by. I've been wanting to go to Austin forever. And when I heard that they were coming to London, I jumped at it. I bought the early bird so that I didn't pay the full price, but the value of the purse was $1,500 including that. And mine, it wasn't gifted. I paid for it with my own hard-earned cash. They hyped it really well. I'll give them that. But the experience didn't match the energy. What I didn't know at the time was that hundreds of platinum passes were given out for free. Not to undeserved communities or underrepresented people or artists that should be there but aren't getting paid at the moment. I don't know who should get the free passes. I have no problem with that. But the platinum passes, which are the more premium ones, those are the ones that I was surprised were given away for free. So The idea was that if you buy the Platinum Pass, you're having more of the VIP experience, and maybe I read that wrong. That's on me if I misunderstood it, but it's also on them for miscommunicating it. The organization was clunky, the stages weren't raised, there was a lot of accessibility issues, so if you were a person who needed help accessing the event space, you would probably have had serious problems. I'm short, so I couldn't see much if I was at the back, but for the most part, I did get a really good seat, and at the expense of others. I didn't realize in the first 2 days that there were queues outside, and my staying in the venue was preventing other people from coming in. There were only 5 minutes breaks between talks, and the venues were at the most 20 minutes away. I think there's one that was further away, which I never actually went to. And I am local, I used to be local to the area. This was my original hood that I was in. So I knew the shortcuts. I knew where to go. But if you weren't from there, how would you? After each talk, I stayed put. But by day 3, it felt like you were queuing more than you were learning. You were experiencing the vibe. Oh, the reason for that, I forgot to mention, is because they changed the policy. After you have been to one talk, you must exit and queue again, which meant that you would be queuing most of the day because the queues were hour long. I remember queuing for an hour and a half for one of the talks. I don't even know why I did that. But you have that loss aversion. It kicked in for me. I'm like, but I've already been in 30 minutes. I don't know how long I have to queue. Will I get in? Won't I get in? The vibe, honestly, it became a whinge fest. And I hate that. It's so draining. I hate the fact that I'm talking negatively about this on my podcast, but these are the truths. It really brought out the worst in everyone. And to their credit, the event staff were really lovely. The app got better throughout the event, but communication was overall very poor. Speakers were cancelled without any notice. So I actually was planning on going to see Gary Vee, but for some reason he didn't show up and I didn't know. And I was like, wait a second, did I miss that? With all the confusion, I lost 20 minutes. And it was, then you've already lost the next talk. It was just ridiculous. But I'll own one thing. I had expectations. Kids don't have expectations ever. It really is the thing that is going to ruin everything for you. Don't have FOMO. There's always something happening. The question is, how are you making your present moment count? How are you making the present moment count? Like really, that is the most important thing. And also, I think if I ever make this the next time, I'm skipping the ticket. I only found out after the event. I was chatting to my friend, Chris Doe, and he basically said, did you go to any of the fringe events? I'm like, what fringe events? What have I missed? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't know. So next time I'm skipping it and just attending the fringe events. That's where people were actually probably talking, relaxed, and they were open. And I would have loved to be there. But no one tells you this stuff. But I'm so glad I had that conversation, because what I'm about to share with you is at the back of that conversation that I actually took the next step. I went to Cannes Lions and I was literally asked within 3 days of it starting, hey, do you want to come? A friend of mine was going. And I paused because I'm like, do I really want to do this? I was exhausted from South by Southwest. It was exhausting on so many levels. If I think about it, it was not just the fact that it was poorly organized and that I had high expectations, but I had paused all of my client work for this. So it's not just that it cost me money. It cost me a lot of time and, in a way, income, because I will now have to work 1 week extra in the year where I could have had time off for myself. So there was a lot of investment in this. So when I was invited to Cannes Lions, I'm like, wait a second, do I really want to do this? I didn't have a great time at South by. Maybe I'm not cut out for networking. You know what it's like. You start questioning everything. Maybe it's me and not them. But I checked in with my husband. I'm like, can you do some solo parenting for a bit? And I felt guilty because he'd already done solo parenting with South by. Even though I stayed at home, I was out. I left before school one and I came back after dinner. But he said, go. So I packed protein bars, another lesson from South by. I packed protein bars and I went. And it was incredible. I only arrived on the Wednesday and I left on the Saturday. But technically, there are only 2 real days of the actual event there. Now that I've been, I know better. I know how to plan it better. But I didn't buy any ticket. I didn't do the official pass. I just did the fringe events. And that's all I needed. I went to the Collins Villa and I attended her Next Frontier launch. And those two alone were worth the entire trip. The atmosphere, relaxed, inviting, intimate. I had deep conversations fast, the kind where you walk away thinking, we might actually become better friends beyond this chat. And I don't say this lightly. It wasn't just the sun or the beautiful location. People came to connect. They came with intention. And I think that it's not just that they came to connect. I think it's also who was hosting that villa and the energy that they invited. The people were open. All I had set for myself as a target, because I learned from South by not to have expectations. So I'm like, okay, one good conversation a day and it will be a success. The low bar, because that good conversation could be with a friend and it would still count. But what is life if we don't have good conversation? And I can tell you this, I had more than one each of those days. So let's go into how I actually network.